because he continues to lie to the world.
Stephen A. Smith is done with LeBron James's antics. He's calling him a manipulative liar and revealing why Kobe Bryant couldn't stand him when he was alive. Apparently, they weren't as close as people thought. Let me break it down. The explosive truth behind basketball's most hidden rivalry. The basketball world was stunned when whispers began emerging about the true nature of Kobe's feelings toward LeBron. Stephen A. Smith's unique position within the sports media landscape has given him unprecedented access to insider information about NBA relationships, making his revelations about this hidden hatred all the more shocking and credible. What makes this story particularly devastating is how masterfully both players concealed their true feelings from the public eye. To the outside world, Kobe and LeBron appeared to share a relationship built on competitive respect and professional admiration, but the reality was far more sinister, a carefully orchestrated facade that masked years of mounting tension, resentment, and fundamental disagreements about what it meant to be great.
That's pretty damn cool. And as I started playing more ball and I went into high school, the things that he was doing on the floor, I admired and wanted to be a part of. I went to ABCD camp, and he came and talked to all the kids that was there, and I happened to be one of the kids that was there, and I was just listening.
The seeds of this animosity were planted early in their relationship, when a young LeBron James was still making his mark on the basketball world. Their initial interactions appeared cordial on the surface, with LeBron often speaking admiringly of Kobe's achievements. But according to Stephen A. Smith's sources, Kobe was already beginning to view the rising star as a threat to everything he had worked to build.
And in 2001, I believe I was playing in New Jersey, and the All-Star game, if I'm not mistaken, and y'all can correct me, was in Philly, right? Yeah, that Saturday, me and Maverick drove to the Intercontinental downtown Philadelphia, and he gave me a pair of his shoes, which I ended up wearing that following night. It was the red, white, and blue Kobe's. I was a 15, and he was a 14, and I wore them anyways.
This seemingly innocent exchange of shoes would later take on a more sinister meaning as analysts began to understand the power dynamics at play. Here was the established superstar, Kobe Bryant, in a position of dominance, bestowing a gift upon the young pretender. But what appeared to be mentorship was actually the first move in a psychological chess game, a calculated attempt to establish control and authority over someone who would eventually challenge everything Kobe held dear. The philosophical differences between the two. Players became apparent almost immediately. Kobe Bryant's career was defined by his relentless pursuit of individual excellence and his unwavering commitment to the Mamba mentality, a philosophy that demanded nothing less than absolute perfection and total dedication to the craft of basketball. LeBron, on the other hand, represented a new generation of players who understood that greatness could be achieved through different means.
Well, really it's just about curiosity. Right? When you have a curiosity, you have a thirst to learn and to get better. And that's at the foundation of everything, is asking why. Why did this move work? Why does this particular tactic work? And that curiosity, how do you train better? How do you eat better? From curiosity, everything else is built upon that.
According to explosive revelations, Kobe viewed LeBron's approach to basketball as fundamentally flawed and, more importantly, as a betrayal of everything that competition was supposed to represent. Where Kobe believed in earning greatness through individual sacrifice and unwavering loyalty to one's franchise, LeBron embodied a more strategic, calculated approach to building a legacy, one that prioritized winning over the traditional values that Kobe held sacred. The psychological toll of watching LeBron's meteoric rise while maintaining a public facade of support became increasingly difficult for Kobe to bear. The media's constant comparisons between the two players, combined with LeBron's growing commercial success and cultural influence, created an environment where every interaction between them was loaded with subtext and hidden meaning.
So when everyone gets into the, is LeBron better than Kobe, whatever it is, and you hear it, you can't not hear it. You have like no reaction.
Sure. No, I think the best way to explain it is I typically do not engage in things that I cannot definitively win. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
It's argument. Argue for what?
The 2008 Olympics, often cited as a turning point that brought the two players closer together, actually marked the beginning of Kobe's deep-seated resentment toward LeBron. While the public saw two American superstars working together toward a common goal, those with insider knowledge understood that this experience revealed fundamental differences in their approaches to leadership, teamwork, and competition that could never be reconciled.
We take it down to 2008 where we become the Redeem team. And it was a dream come true for me to be able to line up alongside of him, just admiring him for so many years, and seeing him from afar, and then being able to be in practices with him and me watching and learning.
But according to sources, Kobe's experience during those Olympics was vastly different from LeBron's. While LeBron saw an opportunity to learn from and bond with his idol, Kobe saw a young player who was already beginning to challenge the established hierarchy and threaten the legacy he had spent years building. The seeds of hatred were planted during those weeks in Beijing, growing stronger with each passing interaction. The championship disparity between the two players became a particularly sensitive point of contention. Kobe's 5 NBA championships represented the foundation of his legacy argument, and he wasn't shy about using this accomplishment to establish his superiority over LeBron. But more than just competitive positioning, this championship count represented validation of his entire approach to basketball, proof that his way was the right way.
Well, you got 5 of these, and not too many other people.
People want to know about criticism. How do you deal with that? And people try to downplay your career in some shape, form, or fashion. I just hold up 5 because the most important thing that we do, the goal is to win championships. This is what we're here for.
The psychological warfare between the two players was subtle but devastating. Every public comment, every interview response, every social media post was carefully crafted to maintain the illusion of respect while subtly undermining the other's credibility and achievements. Kobe, with his masterful media manipulation skills, became particularly adept at delivering backhanded compliments and veiled criticisms that only those with insider knowledge could fully understand.
Can't lose sight of that. It's not what people think of you, right? But it's the game. Are you leading the team the right way? Are you doing the necessary things to study your craft to put your team in the best possible situation to be champions? That's the only thing that matters.
The most damaging revelations, Kobe's private conversations with trusted confidants, revealed the true depth of his disdain for LeBron's character and approach to competition. The man who had sacrificed everything for basketball excellence couldn't comprehend how someone who took shortcuts and manipulated situations for personal gain could be mentioned in the same breath as true champions and competitors. The situation reached a critical point when LeBron joined the Los Angeles Lakers, the franchise that Kobe had called home for his entire 20-year career. The dynamics within the Lakers organization during this period were incredibly complex, with management having to navigate the delicate balance between honoring Kobe's legacy while embracing LeBron's potential to bring the franchise back to championship glory.
And just to make a long story short, now I'm here in the Lakers uniform in Philadelphia, where he's from, where one of the first time I ever met him, gave me his shoes, he won All-Star Week. It's surreal. It doesn't make no sense, but the universe just puts things in your life.
Kobe viewed LeBron's arrival in Los Angeles as the ultimate insult, a young pretender attempting to claim the throne that he had built through decades of sacrifice and dedication. The private conversations that Kobe had with trusted confidants during this period revealed the true depth of his animosity toward LeBron, painting a picture of a man who felt betrayed not just by a rival, but by the entire basketball establishment that seemed willing to embrace LeBron's approach over his own. The tragic irony is that this deep-seated hatred would remain hidden from the public until after Kobe's untimely death, when those closest to him began to reveal the true extent of his feelings. The decision that ignited a legend's fury. The transformation of Kobe Bryant's skepticism into outright hatred can be traced to one pivotal moment that changed the landscape of professional basketball forever: LeBron James' infamous decision in 2010. According to Stephen A. Smith's explosive revelations, this televised spectacle didn't just alter the NBA's competitive balance, it triggered a psychological transformation in Kobe that would define their relationship for the rest of his life. The controversial high school incidents that first caught Kobe's attention were merely warning signs of character flaws that would later manifest in far more destructive ways. LeBron's acceptance of gifts, including a Hummer H2 for his 18th birthday and throwback jerseys worth $845, violated amateur bylaws and resulted in a 2-game suspension. While most observers viewed these as minor infractions by a young player navigating unprecedented fame, Kobe saw them as early indicators of someone who believed rules didn't apply to them. Even more telling was LeBron's admission of marijuana use during high school to cope with media stress, a revelation that stood in stark contrast to Kobe's own obsessive dedication to physical and mental preparation for someone who had sacrificed everything for basketball excellence. LeBron's casual approach to maintaining his body and mind represented a fundamental character flaw that could never be overlooked. But it was the decision that transformed Kobe's disappointment into something far more personal and destructive. This televised spectacle, which raised $2.5 million for charity but drew immense criticism for forming a super team with Chris Bosh and Dwyane Wade, represented everything that Kobe believed was destroying the competitive integrity of professional basketball.
He's an insufferable narcissist. Great player. For my money, you're a top 10 player of all time, for sure. You could debate where you want to put him. He's not number one. But it's so clear to me, and I can't prove this, is just my take on it, of how Michael Jordan lives rent-free in his head. And the people that do what we do for a living that talk about Jordan as the GOAT and not him as the GOAT.
According to sources, Kobe's reaction to the decision was visceral and immediate. Here was a player who had never faced real adversity, taking the easy path to championship glory by joining forces with other superstars rather than earning his rings through individual excellence and team building. The backlash that LeBron faced, including criticism from legends like Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan, only reinforced Kobe's belief that his approach to competition was morally superior. The controversy deepened when LeBron's performance in the 2011 NBA Finals against the Dallas Mavericks exposed what Kobe viewed as fundamental character flaws. LeBron was heavily criticized for averaging only 3 points in fourth quarters and 17.8 points per game, an 8.9-point drop from the regular season, the largest in league history. For Kobe, who had built his reputation on clutch performances and unwavering determination in crucial moments, this collapse confirmed his worst. Suspicions about LeBron's mental toughness and competitive spirit.
Listen, I will concede, I think it does clearly bother LeBron that it is not a universally held opinion
100%.
that he is the GOAT, because he's like, guys, the statistical case is pretty overwhelming. Like that, the statistical case is overwhelming for LeBron over Mike.
The pattern of controversial team changes continued to fuel Kobe's resentment. LeBron's role in the mid-season firing of Cavaliers coach David Blatt in 2015 to 2016 was seen by many as an abuse of player power, undermining coaching authority and team stability for personal preferences. For someone who had weathered difficult seasons and rebuilding periods without publicly undermining his organization, LeBron's willingness to orchestrate coaching changes represented a fundamental character flaw. Similarly, LeBron's public criticism of Cleveland's front office for fielding a top-heavy team after a January defeat in 2016-17 drew counter-criticism and highlighted what Kobe viewed as a pattern of shifting blame rather than accepting personal responsibility for team failures. The contrast with Kobe's own approach to adversity couldn't have been more stark.
Don't tell me it's not about ring culture. You don't know how ring culture came about, and you have that
Miami. Why? Because he's chasing rings. That if you don't win a ring, you can never be thought of as better than Jordan or Russell or a lot of other guys.
The situation was further complicated by LeBron's perceived lackluster effort during the 2017-18 season, when he was criticized for a lack of engagement in January, despite later winning his third All-Star Game MVP with 29 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists. The fact that LeBron could coast through portions of the regular season while still receiving accolades struck Kobe as emblematic of everything wrong with the modern basketball culture. When LeBron moved to the Lakers, his first season struggles were particularly painful for Kobe to witness. The roster of playmakers and veterans struggled early, winning only 2 of the first 7 games, missing the playoffs for the first time since 2005 after LeBron's groin injury. He missed 17 games, had minutes restrictions in March, and was eventually ruled out for the season, adding to the narrative of team dysfunction that seemed to follow LeBron wherever he went. The controversies weren't limited to basketball decisions. LeBron's 2008 Vogue cover with Gisele Bündchen was criticized for referencing King Kong imagery, deemed offensive by ESPN columnist Jameel Hill, highlighting racial sensitivities that Kobe felt LeBron was either unaware of or unwilling to address appropriately. This pattern of tone-deaf public relations decisions would continue throughout LeBron's career.
Kevin Durant is an all-time great basketball player, and he so badly did not want to be in the Charles Barkley, Dan Marino conversation that he joined the greatest team we'd seen, arguably, to go win some easy titles. And then KD now is like, he's got 2 rings, he's got 2 finals MVPs, and we're like, that title's not that impressive.
According to sources, each of these controversies served as additional confirmation of character flaws that Kobe had suspected from their earliest interactions. The pattern was clear. LeBron would make decisions based on personal benefit rather than competitive integrity, then use his media savvy to reshape the narrative in his favor. The psychological impact of witnessing these controversies unfold year after year took a significant toll on Kobe's opinion of LeBron. Each incident served as confirmation that his initial instincts about LeBron's character were correct, building an insurmountable case for why LeBron could never be considered a true champion or leader in the mold of basketball's greatest players. The final straw and ultimate betrayal. The culmination of years of mounting controversies and philosophical disagreements reached its devastating climax in the final years of Kobe Bryant's life, when private conversations revealed that he had lost all remaining respect for LeBron James. The breaking point reportedly came after LeBron's controversial remarks about ring culture, in which he questioned the emphasis on championships when evaluating player legacies. His comments, suggesting that titles are team accomplishments and downplaying their importance by referencing other greats like Allen Iverson and Charles Barkley, struck those who knew Kobe as the ultimate display of hypocrisy and revisionist history.
A ring is a team accomplishment. Right. I don't know where it started. It's just it's a long conversation, especially when it comes to, like, you know, me individually. I don't know why it's discussed so much in our sport. You tell me, you know, Allen Iverson and Charles Barkley and Steve Nash, you know, our wasn't unbelievable.
For someone like LeBron, who had spent much of his career teaming up with other superstars in pursuit of championships, to now dismiss the very metric he once chased was, to Kobe, everything he found morally flawed in LeBron's approach to the game. According to Stephen A. Smith's sources, Kobe's private reaction to these remarks was described as unusually intense, unlike anything his closest confidants had seen from him before.
It is not true. Now, let's get to the point that you and I do agree about. If it didn't mean much, or should it mean much, well then, why were you so relieved to finally have one? Why did you depart Cleveland to go to Miami and join forces with Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade to get one? Why did you depart from there to go back to Cleveland?
The man who had dedicated his entire life to winning championships, who had sacrificed relationships, health, and personal comfort in pursuit of basketball excellence, was, in his final years, hearing his legacy quietly undermined. Kobe Bryant, whose identity was inseparable from the relentless pursuit of greatness, was being indirectly lectured on the irrelevance of the very accomplishments that defined him. And it came from someone who had spent his own career strategically aligning with super teams to win those same championships, often with far less personal sacrifice. But perhaps the most damaging revelation of all, in the eyes of those closest to Kobe, centered around LeBron's handling of his son Bronny's entry into the NBA. Stephen A. Smith's public criticism of LeBron's role in orchestrating Bronny's draft, selection, and early playing time brought to light what many saw as a blatant abuse of influence and privilege, one that flew in the face of the meritocratic values Kobe believed should govern professional sports.
He had Larry David with him, star of Curb Your Enthusiasm. Yeah. I'm sitting with them. I get there in the first quarter. I'm sitting courtside, and I stand up, and then I got my head turned. And then I turn back around, and a lot of people thought this was the end of the game or something like that. This was in the third quarter.
According to Stephen A. Smith, LeBron's confrontation over criticism of Bronny represented everything that Kobe had despised about his approach to conflict and accountability. Rather than addressing legitimate concerns about nepotism and merit privately, LeBron chose to create a public spectacle designed to generate sympathy while avoiding substantive discussion of the real issues.
Apparently, LeBron had walked out of the timeout, and I turn around, and he's right here in my face. He said, yo, you got to stop talking shit about my son. You got to stop with my son. That's my son. That's my son. And I was like, what? He said, nah, that. I said, yo, let's talk later. He's like, that. Nah, that. You got to stop with my son.
The revelation that LeBron would confront critics in public settings while avoiding private, substantive discussions struck observers as the behavior of someone more interested in controlling narratives than addressing legitimate concerns. According to Stephen A. Smith's sources, this pattern of behavior had represented everything that had distinguished LeBron's approach from that of true leaders and competitors. The broader implications of LeBron's most recent controversies extended far beyond personal disagreements. His pattern of manipulating situations for personal benefit while maintaining a carefully crafted public image represented the kind of calculated deception that would have been absolutely unforgivable in Kobe's eyes.
Because he continues to lie to the world about what I said and who I was pointing the finger at. To regurgitate an obvious point, when I talked about Bronny James early in the season, and I highlighted the fact that at that particular moment in time, he simply was not ready, I was calling out LeBron James.
The situation with Bronny represented more than just nepotism. It symbolized everything that Kobe had believed was corrupting the competitive integrity of professional basketball. The idea that a player could use his influence to circumvent traditional evaluation processes and give his son opportunities that hadn't been earned through merit alone would have represented the ultimate betrayal of competitive principles. According to Stephen A. Smith's most damaging revelations, the psychological warfare that had been simmering beneath the surface for years finally boiled over when LeBron's approach to handling criticism exposed his true character. The contrast between LeBron's public image as a thoughtful leader and his private behavior as someone who avoided accountability while manipulating narratives represented everything that Kobe had found morally reprehensible.
He understood it when he arrived in Tinseltown with the Lakers that stars, superstars who wore the purple and gold, he couldn't be the one person that didn't capture a championship. He had to get at least one. But now that you've got it, all of a sudden, you really don't understand why it's of so importance. It's nonsense.
The tragic irony of Kobe's death in January 2020 was that it prevented any possibility of these final tensions ever being addressed. LeBron's public expressions of grief and his tributes to Kobe were widely praised as genuine and heartfelt. But, according to Stephen A. Smith's sources, they also represented a missed opportunity for the two players to confront their fundamental disagreements before it was too late.
Sorry. And I'm happy to be in any conversation with Kobe Bean Bryant, one of the all-time greatest basketball players to ever play, one of the all-time greatest Lakers. The man got 2 jerseys hanging up in Staples Center. It's just crazy.
The psychological impact of maintaining this level of animosity while being forced to share the same franchise legacy took an enormous toll on both the Lakers organization and the basketball community as a whole. The mental and emotional energy required to maintain public facades while harboring such deep personal resentments likely contributed to the impossibility of ever finding common ground. Stephen A. Smith's decision to reveal these explosive details has fundamentally changed how the basketball world views the relationship between these two legends. His own complicated relationship with LeBron James, including recent public disputes and accusations of bias, has added another layer of complexity to an already volatile situation.
Instead, he's playing and playing and playing, and I'm getting stats, and he go against Philly. They put him in the first quarter, and Tyrese and them gave it to him. And then they plaster on SportsCenter 0.3 points, 0.3 rebounds, 0.4 assists, blah, blah, blah.
The legacy implications of these revelations continue to reverberate throughout the basketball community and beyond. For those who had understood Kobe's approach to competition and excellence, these revelations represented validation of concerns that had been building for years about the direction of professional basketball and the values that were being celebrated and rewarded. For LeBron's supporters, these revelations highlight the impossible standards and unfair scrutiny that he has faced throughout his career. The idea that every decision, every statement, and every career move would be subject to such intense judgment and personal animosity from peers represents the kind of psychological pressure that few athletes have ever had to endure.
So I go on the air and I say the same thing I said over the summer. Yo, LeBron, if we see this, you're his dad and you're a basketball savant. You must see this. Don't do this. Because you're putting him under such a microscope. It's gonna be too much for him to overcome. Give him a chance.
The broader cultural implications of this hidden hatred extend far beyond basketball, touching on fundamental questions about authenticity, leadership, and the responsibilities that come with influence and platform in the modern era. The revelation that two of the sport's most influential figures could have maintained such deep personal animosity while presenting a united front to the public raises serious questions about the nature of celebrity culture and the carefully constructed narratives that fans are asked to believe. As the basketball world continues to process these explosive revelations, several uncomfortable truths have emerged. The carefully constructed narratives about player relationships, competitive respect, and professional courtesy that fans have been fed for years may be nothing more than elaborate public relations campaigns designed to protect brand values and commercial interests. The ultimate tragedy of this story is not just the personal animosity between two great players, but what it represents about the current state of professional basketball and celebrity culture more broadly. If someone of Kobe Bryant's stature and competitive integrity had had developed such deep hatred for another superstar, it would suggest fundamental problems with how modern athletes build their legacies, how the media evaluates success and character, and how the public understands the difference between carefully crafted public personas and private reality. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, click on one of the boxes playing on your screen to watch more similar content.